Right, everyone, welcome to Fuel Your Drive. I'm your host, Josh York, and guys, I'm very, very excited for today's guest. Good friend of mine, and let me tell you something. As you know, I love when people tell me I'm out of my mind. I actually take that as the highest compliment I can get, and I guarantee you today's guest will also love getting that compliment as well. He freely admits to being a maniac, and I love that about him. From a pool cleaning business to Wall Street, this is the man behind Spartan. I am sure you all know about Spartan races, and for those who don't, Spartan races are fantastic. They really test your fitness levels, your determination, your willpower, and honestly, putting you through completing long distance runs to challenges, obstacles in honestly very uncomfortable environments. And I love getting uncomfortable, and so does this man. Guys, please welcome my good friend, Joe DeSena. Joe, welcome to Fuel Your Drive, my friend.
All right, two lunatics on Zoom. They might cancel Zoom on both of us. They might just shut the thing down.
They might, and that's quite okay, because you know what? We'll find another service and jump right on it. So, Joe, listen, I'm sure a lot of people know about you, obviously. You know, now besides your good looks, tell everyone, how did this all start? You know, I know you were in Wall Street. I know you had your pool cleaning business. You know, I know obviously you've made some huge moves, which we're going to touch on as well. But like, how did this all happen?
We got to go back 40 years. My mom, I grew up in Howard Beach, Queens, organized crime capital of the world back then. And my mom goes into a health food store. There was like one health food store on the entire East Coast back then in the 70s. And there was an Indian guru that just came in from India, landed at Kennedy Airport. He's like 70 something years old or whatever he was in the health food store, the story goes. And they meet, and she comes home from the health food store and she doesn't want to cook raviolis anymore. We're not doing eggplant parm, no more sausages and peppers. And we became a vegan household. She started meditating. I mean, it just literally turned our lives upside down. My parents ended up getting divorced. But this guru introduced her to, meditating, yoga. And one thing they were doing in Queens, which still exists today, is a 3,100 mile run around a 1 mile loop. And so they would just go for 50, 60 days around this 1 mile loop. And so I got introduced to this craziness, this physical capability that you allow yourself to go to at a very young age. I stayed on my track for, I wanted to stick with the raviolis, the eggplant parm. I wanted to be a tough guy. I wanted a nice car. I wanted to make money. So I ended up on Wall Street, and I wasn't feeling great. You know, like many of us, I just wasn't feeling good. I was probably sitting too much. I wasn't exercising enough. I was eating the wrong foods, and but I was making money. And I was speaking to my cousin, and he said, "You got to do some hot yoga." I was like, "Oh, here we go again with the yoga, right?" And I went in and I did the yoga, and I started to feel good. And then not too long after, the elevator was busted in our building. And I was taking the stairs, and I'm going up the stairs, and there's a guy that looks as fit as you, and he's carrying 2 dumbbells. He's like on the cover of Men's Health. He's ripped. And I'm like, "What the hell are you doing here?" He goes, "This is how I train. I go up and down the stairs with dumbbells." And so I started going up and down the stairs every day. It became that was like my church. I go every day in the stairwell, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. I had to go up and down 32 flights at least 5 times to like just have a normal day. And then I started doing races, and I literally just picked up all the stuff my mom was preaching, 25 years earlier that I was rejecting. I started to do, and I started to feel good. And then I started to rope other people into it. And there's nothing that feels more fulfilling than taking a friend out and torturing them to, doing something physical and just killing them. And so that just became my life. Eventually turning it into a business, and here we are.
I love it. Now you're talking about carrying dumbbells, but I remember you and I were live on Instagram. You were carrying like a kettle rock. Listen, tell people about this. Listen, I love it, man. People might think you're crazy. I admire it. I love it. I love your attitude. I love your mindset. But so you walk around with a rock, right?
Yeah. So I years ago, I helped a guy lose a bunch of weight. He was 696 pounds. I got him down to 262, somewhere in the 260s. And one of the ways to motivate him to lose weight was I would carry weight as he lost weight. And eventually I got to a 100-pound sandbag I was carrying everywhere. and it was obviously ridiculous. It was too heavy. And we were going to Asia as a family, and I couldn't get through security with this 100-pound sandbag because it was made of little BBs. Because to get a 100-pound sandbag, sand isn't heavy enough. You got to use BBs.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let it through. So when I landed in Asia, I said to my wife, "Hey, would you mind ordering on Amazon like a 20-pound kettlebell?" I figured I'd make it easier than the 100-pound. And by accident, she ordered a 20-kilogram kettlebell because we were in Asia, and it showed up. And it's like 44 pounds.
Yep.
I'm like, I want to carry around this kettlebell, but I can't return it to Amazon. I can't be the Spartan founder and return this kettlebell. So I started carrying the thing around. It just became my thing, like 5 or 6 years. And we put a race on in Sparta at the ancient historic site every year, a world championship in Sparta, Greece. And they know that I carry on this kettlebell. And so the mayor, like, they dug up some old rock and they gave me like this old like kettlebell, this ancient kettlebell. So you saw me when I was carrying around that thing, which the airlines lost, but I ultimately found. So yeah.
I love that. It's just, let's talk about that for a second. That's very important to understand. So that's like got to be a pain in the ass, right? Very uncomfortable. You're carrying this thing around all the time. Well, why do you continue to do it?
Yeah, Jesus had his cross, right? You got your cold water plunge every morning. Everybody's got their thing, and so that's my cross to bear. And when I put it down, some of the great philosophers, ancient Greek philosophers, right? They would say, you got to take stuff away from your life in order to appreciate what you have. The great samurai, they would literally burn everything they owned in their mind at night before they went to bed. They would close their eyes and they would visualize everything in their life burning, including their family, gone, vaporized. When they wake up in the morning and they see their family members and they're in their house, they're happy, right?
Yep.
Because now they appreciate what they have. And so for me, when I put that kettlebell down, I'm happy. I'm like, thank God I'm not carrying that kettlebell right now. So everybody's got their thing. Plus, I'd be a fraud. I ask people to do burpees and sweat and do all this hard stuff. And so I got to do some hard stuff too.
Yep. That's great. That's great. So what do you think it takes to win? Like, everyone talks about this all the time, but I want to hear from your perspective, because I know you and I shared some stories when we were in the city that day, how you kind of almost lost it all. And that's a great story, which I want to share to everyone because it's just so motivating and people need to understand that. I always talk about, I was mentored by Fred DeLuca, the founder of Subway. May he rest in peace. And he asked me a long time ago, what do you think it takes to be successful? And I was like, oh, you got to be focused. You got to be driven. You got to be a hard worker. And he goes, yeah, that's all right. But Josh, honestly, he said, the person who can endure the most pain for the longest period of time is going to be the most successful, because business is the most painful thing you're ever going to encounter in your life. So with that said, what do you think it takes to win? And let's touch on that story, because I think people will really love to hear that story.
I think you're exactly right. When you first asked the question, I thought it's that ability to never, ever, ever quit. I've watched so many people. I think back as I sit here and talk to you to my teens when I started my first business, and all those young kids, my friends, peers, that I would say, come on, do this with me. And they all quit. They all didn't want to do it. It was too hard. To be easier to steal something to make a living. And then, a month went by and a year went by, and then I started to make some more money. And then eventually I was a teenager and I bought a truck, and then I bought a backhoe and an excavator, and they were still doing nothing. Yeah. And I saw it on Wall Street. I saw so many people leave a firm they worked for to go make an extra 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever it was. And then somebody younger would slip into their spot, and then they'd move up. And the folks that stuck with it and didn't quit and didn't go take the cookie right there, I'm going to go grab a couple extra bucks over here. And they just had their blinders on and they just got the job done every day and built a reputation and political capital. Some of these guys I know are making $25+ million a year. They just, they just stayed on track.
Yep.
And so it's that ability to just take the punches all day, every day, not get distracted. suck it up, close your mouth sometimes you want to say something, right? You want to do something that it's just emotional, and just get the job done. Just grind it out day in and day out. That's how you.
And I agree with you, but let's talk about that. So you shared this story with me, which we're going to touch on in a second, but like, how does someone know like when not to quit? Because like, look, I don't quit, like, but like some people might like see nothing in sight and there's $0 in their bank account, which I can't tell you how many times I've experienced that. I've had more non-sufficient funds over the years in my bank account. Listen, man, it's sunny days in the Caribbean, okay? Like NSF, like literally across the board. Like finally, thank the God, I don't experience that anymore, but literally I've had more non-sufficient fund notices that literally I used to go to the bank. I was embarrassed because they'd say, oh, you can't cash this check. There's no money in your account. Now I did this bootstrapped. So, and I believe in myself and I just know I'm going to make it work. But from your perspective, Joe, like how do you know when to not quit? Like when the walls are caving in on you, you have no money, you don't know what to do. And I think that's when your story comes in.
Yeah. I mean, I went 15 years, I lost money for 15 years with this thing. And I think there are times to quit. Let's answer it this way. And I know it's strange when people hear that coming from me or coming from you, but whether it's a relationship, whether you're in college, whether you're climbing a mountain, building a business, whatever that thing is, you are going to face tough moments, whether it's non-sufficient funds, whether your hands are bleeding, the person that you're dating is throwing pots and pans at you. Like you're going to go through some tough moments. That's just the deal. That's life. There's no way around it. And during those tough moments, you're going to want to quit because we are creatures that will avoid discomfort at all costs. We are wired. Our legacy hardware and software is wired to make us avoid discomfort at all costs. So when the going gets tough and the pots and pans are flying and your hands are bleeding and all those things are wrong, your brain subconsciously is flashing a big red light that says, quit. This is too painful. Go in another direction. Now, you and I have complete alignment. Our values, the things we care about or whatever, match up with the actions we take every day. So we don't quit. We're doing the thing that we love to do, right? And we are going to we're going to see it through. In the case where your values are not lined up with your actions, for example, if you're climbing Mount Everest and you're 100 feet from summiting and the snow is blowing and the wind is coming and the red light is flashing in your brain, it's time to quit, this is too uncomfortable, but you're a mountain climber. You're not married, you're about to set the world record, you go for it. On the other hand, if you're a family man and your values are all about family and you got 3 little kids, your wife's pregnant, you turn around, you quit, you tap out. Getting back to your car is more important than summiting that mountain.
Yep, I agree.
So you have to make sure before you embark on these journeys, you have to just do a head check and say, like, what are my values? What is my true north? What is that? Who am I? Because you got to know the seas are going to get rough. The winds are going to blow, right? Shit's going to happen. And when you get tested and that red light is flashing, you got to be able to look back and say, wait a minute, this is completely in alignment with who I am, what I'm doing. This is not putting me, I'm getting it done. And don't get faked out by the weak brain.
Yep.
That make sense?
No, that's very, very true. It's very true. So you pretty much almost lost it all, right? There was, like you had like a day. You want to share that story? Because that story was just.
Oh, I had many days. Are you kidding me? I had many days where it was just over, where I was just tapping out. I mean, fuck, I'm going through COVID right now. I'm shut down in 45 countries. I got 325 events I had to cancel. We had 500 employees when this thing started. I had to furlough like 75% of the staff. So like, I'm going through it now, but like, what do? You wake up and you go to work. That's what you do. And by the way, going to work, anybody out there is going to say, oh, well, you can go to work. I don't have a job. Like, I'm not getting paid, but I go to work.
Yep.
That's what you do. You go to work. The standards don't change.
And the first thing when Joe got on before we started going live here, guys smiling, looking good, feeling good. You have to deal with what's happening. And just, look, I heard someone the other day say this to me, and it got me so angry. And I've learned over the years to control myself and not react. He said, I was like, oh, things are going. It's like, well, right now I'm just kind of waiting for COVID to pass, and then, I'm going to get after it again. Get after it again. What does that mean? When COVID's gone, this is going to be something else, whether it's personal or just act now. Like, I don't understand why people can't see that. And, they just make excuses and excuses and excuses. And that's just such a problem in the world. And people want to get it so bad, but, tough times don't last, and tough people do. It's very simple.
But what that person that you got upset with, what they don't even realize, that's just the weak part of their brain. Everybody's got a weak part of their brain. That's just the weak part of their brain. Flashing that red light we just described, saying, don't go out there because it's uncomfortable right now.
Quit. You're not good enough.
Quit. You're not gonna come here. Come here. That's my oldest son. You hear what he said?
Let's hear it. I love it. Bring him on. Bring him on the show. Let's see.
Jack, say hello. You guys see Jack?
Hey, Jack. How are you, bud?
Good.
You're going to go down in history for the first episode on our podcast where we ever had someone's son come on. So this is a special moment. Let me hear what you just said.
Quit, and you're not good enough.
So you were referring to what? The brain says that?
Yeah. So yeah.
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 And does that happen to you?
Sometimes.
What do you do?
When I'm wrestling, sometimes I get really tired and I just want to sit on the side and not do anything, but I don't know. Sometimes it's hard.
How do you fight through?
You make me.
I make them.
I like that.
Hang on a second, Jack. Jack did, I don't think we talked about this. Come here.
Come here, Jack.
Jack did a 14-day death camp. Well, actually, you did 29 days of death camp this summer. We put them through hell. I mean, they were doing.
I saw that. That was on you were posting that on social. I saw that. Yeah.
14 to 16-hour days this guy did in a row for 29. Just stay with me a second. No, I'm sorry. 36 days. And you didn't want to quit then? I mean, you had to get up at 5 a.m, ice cold water in the morning, getting screamed at by a mountain warfare professional. Like, did you want to quit?
Yeah.
Why didn't you quit?
Because I knew that it was going to be good for me.
But you didn't know that in the beginning.
No, I thought I wanted to quit in the beginning, but then after the first few weeks, it wasn't as bad anymore because I was getting used to it.
You're getting used to it. I like that. Jack, how old are you?
I'm 15.
15. Let me tell you something, and I'm telling you this right now. You are going big places, my friend. I'm telling you that right now. If 95% of people your age had your mindset already, and you could thank your dad for that, and some people don't realize that, but you will when you get older about, how lucky you are to have someone who's got such a strong mindset. You're going big places, man, big places, because most 15-year-olds would never think like that, ever. But this is also really good, Joe, because good leaders always create other good leaders. And your kids are just watching you. Literally last night, true story, my son, my oldest, I have 2 kids, 1, 6, 1, 2. My oldest, my wife comes up and says, yeah, thanks a lot, Josh. I go, what's the problem? She goes, go downstairs. Your son's in the shower. My son's 6 years old. He's taking an ice cold shower. And he's like, because he knows daddy does. He's like, Daddy, look at me. I was like, that's it, buddy. He literally took the whole shower ice cold. And he comes out and gives me a pound. And I go, Jake, Daddy's so proud of you. How'd you do that? He goes, it was a piece of cake. But when you lead by, I don't tell him these things.
Right.
He just sees what I do every day. And that's why it's so important. And
but it also helps. I mean, everybody listening and watching, they don't know this, but I know that you turn the hot water off in your house, so you have no choice.
Yeah, that actually is true. But yeah, look, it's these are important things, and you gotta set the right example. And when you have this type of leadership in your home in front of your kids, you're just gonna create winners, because that's how winning is done, and people don't realize that. But Jack, I appreciate you, and I'm thank you for coming on the show. You are a real rock star, my friend.
All right.
That's great, Joe.
He was squatting the other day. You guys would know more about squatting. He squatted. What'd you squat? 245?
Yeah.
He's not. They don't really squat or bench or do anything. We do a lot of body weight stuff, but we wanted to just see. So,
that's impressive, man. That's impressive.
Right, for a 120-pound kid, that's good.
It's very impressive. Very impressive. So, you know, obviously I don't want to, you know, I'm not coming across insensitive. Make sure everyone understands that, because I know people get really touchy with this. But, you know, let's talk about the current situation, what's going on, because, you know, I think people need some motivation and need to understand that, you know, I had somebody the other day say, you know, this is the new normal. We're going to be living the rest of our lives like this. Like, and I'm not going to get into this. I'll let you talk first, and then I can shed light on it. But, you know, what are your thoughts on everything? You know, where do you see things going? Because I see things obviously getting a lot better very soon, and I like to put out that positivity so people see clear light.
I didn't even know there was a problem. I'm so optimistic, and you're so optimistic. I didn't even notice there was a problem. What's the problem? Problem, we get to hang out with our families. We get to take cold showers with our 6-year-old, right? Like, what's the problem? You and I would be at work. But we're home, we're hanging out. I'm still doing wrestling practice every day. I got my Zoom calls. And this thing's going to be over before we know it. We're going to look back and laugh about it. Our great grandkids are going to say, hey, Josh, how'd you guys get through that great pandemic? And we're going to say, what pandemic? That was a joke. That was easy. You should have heard from our great grandparents about World War II or the Great Depression or the Spanish flu or Vietnam. I mean, come on. This is a joke.
Sure is, man. It's funny.
People are dying. I get it. But people die. There's nobody that gets out alive. We all die. Knock on wood. I hope everybody lives, but listen, we just got to take care of ourselves, do a lot of burpees, take a lot of cold showers, eat more salads, and you probably live longer.
100%. And if you look at the actual stats, you know, people who are healthy and good shape, and honestly, right now, not that many people are dying because they know how to handle it a lot better, which is great. But it's funny. I was actually thinking about you, I don't know, a couple months ago when, like, they said, you know, you have to wear masks when you work out. And, you know, I duct tape my mouth when I do my cardio. So I was laughing. I was like, you know, Joe would love this, because someone's like, you believe this nonsense? I got to wear a mask when I do sprints. And I looked at him. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, I live for this. It's even more challenging. Like, it's almost like I like sucking that mask in my face, because I just 700 times in my head wanted to pull it off and quit. But I just refuse. I will refuse to quit. I would rather pass out than quit. Literally.
I agree with you. You and I should get our mouths sewn shut.
You know what I do miss though? I play this game, and I haven't been able to play it a lot because the saunas are closed in the gym. So I've been going to, you know, one of my local spots to use my sauna. But I play this game with myself where I usually stay in the sauna a couple days a week for 25 minutes at around 180 degrees. And if someone else were to come in the sauna while I'm in the sauna, Joe, I can't leave. It's like this weird thing I do. I can't leave until they leave. So one day I'm in there. I swear this was probably the worst experience I ever had. I was actually seeing spots and I was getting really dizzy. Like, I just couldn't handle it for some reason. And he just got in like a minute before I was going to get out. So I'm in there and I'm like, hey, how long are you going to be in here, man? You know, he's like, I don't know. I was like, well, just give me a time. I just need to know. He's like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? I was like, can you just tell me how long you're going to be in here? I need to know. So he's like, I don't know, 10 minutes. So now I'm focusing on 10 minutes, right? To just stay in there for 10 minutes. Guy ended up only staying in 8 minutes and he walked out. I was so happy, but I will refuse to leave. And I play these games with myself, and I'm sure you do stuff like this too.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because it just gets you better. And that's why I always talk about seeking discomfort. The more you seek, the better off you are.
Thanksgiving morning, I got about 20 people over outside, and we got sandbags, and I got that big rusty chain, and we got a tank that we push, and we decided to do 1.5 mile loops. One group had to push the tank, one had to drag the chain, the other had to carry the sandbags. And then we came back, we got to do another loop. Everybody switched, and then one more. So 3 loops, 4.5 miles, everybody gets the thing. So I'm on the sandbag, my last loop, and the tank is about 100 yards ahead of me. I got to catch that fucking tank. I got to catch the tank. Now I'm side by side with the tank. We're only a minute from my house, from getting back. I got to beat this. I can't breathe. I'm exhausted. I'm seeing stars. Just like, I have to beat this tank. I got him at the end. So yeah, I'm with you. It's that, you know, you just don't give up.
So obviously the way you and I talk is extremely extreme, you know, extremely extreme. Like, it's just on a whole nother level. Where do you think someone could start? You know, for someone who is, you know, just starting out and they're not used to this and they're used to just being in that warm bed every morning and not wanting to get up, and like, how can someone just start? Like, your advice.
1 mile a day. If you can't give Josh and I 1 mile a day, just 1 mile, you could walk it every single day consistently for 30 days. If you can't give us that, you probably shouldn't be on this planet.
I agree. And let me tell you something. I say this all the time. Every time you hit that snooze button, you're killing your freaking dreams. Every time, the reason I talk about getting up early, I know you get up early too. The reason I get up every day at 3:44, and I've stuck to that, not 3:45, 3:44, because I like to do things differently, is because that's like the most difficult thing in the morning when you're in bed and you're comfortable and you're exhausted. You don't want to get up. To this day, I've never hit the snooze button ever, because you know what? Dreams are great, but dreams are nothing unless you set goals to get those dreams. And you hit that snooze button, you're done. And I'm sure you agree, right, Joe?
I agree. I actually, we disconnected the snooze button. So there is no snooze button.
There you go, man. There you go. I love it. So, before we finish up, last question I like to always ask is, if you were conducting this interview, what question would you have asked?
I guess the question I would ask is, Josh, are you worried that you're pushing your kids too far?
That's a great question. So go ahead, answer it.
I saw something magical. I don't know. Josh has not had kids before. I've not had kids before. You don't know. And I don't think so. You got to model. You got to do the things you're asking the kid to do, because the kid will just follow it naturally just by watching it out of the corner of their eye, just by seeing it. They'll, through osmosis, they'll get it. But something magical happened in the last few weeks. I heard music in the gym, in the garage, and I opened the door, and my son had music blasting, the one you just met, Jack.
Yeah, Jack, yeah.
What are you doing? I'm getting another workout in. Right? And then the next day or 2 days later, they got done with 2 wrestling practices. It might have been Saturday or Sunday after Thanksgiving. 2 wrestling practices done. Each one is an hour and a half. So 3 hours in that day. Hey, we're going to go lift. Hey, Dad, I got my PR. I did 245-pound squat. So it's just, now I know somebody listening might say, yeah, but you guys are so focused on fitness, you're not doing schoolwork. He's playing the piano right now in the corner. I don't know if you could hear it or not.
I
Playing
can.
piano. He'll do 2, 3, 4 hours of homework so I think early signs are it works. You model it. You show them hard work. They just pick it up.
Listen, I agree 100%. Let me tell you when that hit me. And again, your kids are older than mine, but my gardener calls me up one day. Now, again, I don't push my son to do anything. He takes out the garbage. He knows what days the garbage guys come. He knows when the cans come. He takes it out. He cleans up the house. He puts everything away. He takes ice baths. He works out with me. He does everything. Gardener calls me up and he goes, Josh, your son is the greatest. And I'm going, well, what happened? He goes, I had him do a job for me in my backyard. I brought in like these nice rocks and I put them out under my deck. He's like, I'm out there with the guys. Your son asked me for an extra wheelbarrow and he's helping me. And we finished. He helped us with the job. He goes, I paid him $10. I go, that was so nice of you. I really appreciate it. He goes, no, but I got to tell you, man, like whatever you're doing with your kid, it's amazing. Like I wish my son would do that. But then again, I like to compare that to the simple example is if you hang out with 5 losers and you're the 6th person, you'll be the 6th loser. If you hang out with 5 winners and you're the 6th person, you'll be the 6th winner. The parent or the leader, however you want to look at this analogy and compare it to your organization or your home life, you have to lead by example. It's like, you see the governor of California says, how important it is to wear a mask, and he's out having a party, and then he goes on TV and everyone says that's bad leadership right there. If you're going to say it, back it up and lead by example. And that's what I do every day. And I don't push my kids to do anything. They just see what I do every day.
I agree. And you couldn't push them to do anything you wouldn't do yourself. If you and I were setting an example of sitting on the couch all day, every day eating Doritos, and our kids ended up being overweight and sitting on the couch and playing too many video games, who would we have to blame? We're modeling that behavior. So I agree with you 1,000%.
It's true. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, listen, any last comments before we finish? Because this episode's been great, man.
Last comments. I want to make sure everybody does that mile a day. And if you're feeling frisky, I want 30 burpees and 30 of your best pull-ups. Do them singularly if you have to. every day for 30 days. If that doesn't change your life, like I said, we got to send you to another planet.
There you go. You heard it from Joe. Joe, where can everyone find you?
You could email me, joe@spartan.com. I actually answer emails. Don't write anything longer than 1 or 2 sentences. You could find me on @RealJoeDescent on Instagram. And I don't know where the fuck else you find. I don't know.
All right, we're going to add all those links into the podcast. Joe, thank you so much for coming on. This is a great episode. I really appreciate you. I appreciate our friendship. And again, thank you so much. And guys, until next time, remember to fuel your drive.